Mobile.
You should have gone for the head.
Where'd he go?
Spotify.
Yeah. I was thinking of going to dinner with Jasmine. Yeah. Oh well.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and we are nearing week 3 in the
Big class. Weeks ago. I think that's the last one.
Oh, this is a big build-up. You don't want to do any Doremi Fuffo or whatever that
Don't
is.
screw it up now.
Red leather, yellow leather, black blood, blue blood. Unique New York.
Jesus, turkey.
How loud, brown cow.
Fuck's
This
sake,
is all
dude.
going to the YouTube
And I
video,
thought
right?
I was tired. Wow.
Okay,
You're a terrible actor.
No, I would be an amazing actor. Hey guys, Tarket here, and welcome to episode number 60 of Bay Class. This is our first week 1 impressions of the league. Before we get into everyone's kind of like thoughts, any interesting news lately?
Many?
Yeah,
Many news
it's been eventful.
all over the place.
I didn't look at the topic list. I don't know if there is any. Maybe you guys can explain.
I mean, it's probably best to moderate your way through one by one. Targi, maybe? I think you have it all lined
Follow
up.
your lead.
Yeah, no, I've just been playing Path of Exile, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. So, Rice, what have you been up to?
Okay, Turkey. That was a yep. You're getting better and better every episode. I've been also playing Path of Exile. Did the 100 race. We haven't had an episode, right? This is the first
This
one
is
of
the
the
first
actual
one of the
thing.
league, yeah.
Right, yeah. So I did the 100 race, got completely smashed. Everybody did. Jose 23 came out of nowhere. Crazy. Never been a larger stomp in the history of Path of Exile racing. And the funniest part is that this was like by far the most competitive ever. Everybody was like super psyched. Everybody was like, "Oh yeah, I'm coming back, dude. I'm practicing. I'm gonna do it." And then like this Jose guy comes out of nowhere and El Diablo just destroys us all completely. Like it wasn't even close.
I saw threads about the race, like, you know, in the first few days of the league, and people saying, "Oh, Jose, don't worry about him. He's nothing. He's gonna die. He's definitely gonna die." And then as you get longer into the race, you see like more. I saw a few more posts on Reddit, like he has to die, right? He's gonna die, right?
No, it seriously, there's never been a stump like that, especially since again, this was like by far the most competitive we've ever had it. Like literally everybody was trying their hardest. And it wasn't even anything ridiculous, you know. I don't exactly know obviously what kind of strategy the guy had a private account. It does apparently seem like he was playing as his strain, which was my bet. I would like to point out because people are like, "Oh, he's playing Armageddon." I was like, he's probably playing as his strain. And yeah, it was crazy because he wasn't, you know, he didn't do any sort of like crazy 80 million XP out of nowhere strategy at 99. Nope, guy just played super consistently the whole way through. No 40 million, no 10 million, straight line like a goddamn corpse. And it worked, man. It
I think the
freaking
most
worked.
noteworthy thing was the fact that he got into like the XP mode like immediately.
Yeah.
Right? Because I feel like a lot of the recent ones, there's been a lull for like a day or something where people like setting up because they're like, "Oh, it's difficult, we need to figure things out," and then people kind of stagnate around, I don't know, somewhere between 95, 96, and then they start ramping up again to like 97, and then it's just XP mode. But he was just going from the start to finish.
Do you think it might have been helped along a bit by the fact that like the harvest mechanic is not incredibly impactful as far as your mapping is concerned? Like it's like
Sure.
something like Delirium.
I wholeheartedly disagree. It is very
Yeah.
impactful in the most awful way. You're trying to go fast and get a lot of XP, and you just sit in your freaking garden and you don't get to do anything.
I meant more like that it's not like Delirium League or Metamorph League where doing the mechanic put you at a really high risk of dying.
Yeah,
like
you
if
just
you're
can just
only doing
ignore it.
T1 seeds, like you
Dominion.
don't have any risk of dying from T1 seeds. They're not enemies.
Right. Yeah, I thought
Right, because I feel like a lot of the recent ones, there's been a lull for like a day or something where people like setting up because they're like, oh, it's difficult, we need to figure things out, and then people kind of stagnate around, I don't know, somewhere between 95, 96, and then they start ramping up again to like 97, and then it's just XP mode. But he was just going from the start to finish.
Do you think it might have
Marohi.
been helped along a bit by the fact that like the harvest mechanic is not incredibly impactful as far as your mapping is concerned? Like it's like
Sure.
something like Delirium.
I wholeheartedly disagree. It is very
Yeah.
impactful in the most awful way. You're trying to go fast and get a lot of XP, and you just sit in your freaking garden and you don't get to do anything.
I meant more like that it's not like Delirium League or Metamorph League where doing the mechanic put you at a really high risk of dying.
Yeah,
like
you
if
just
you're
can just
only doing
ignore it.
T1 seeds, like you don't have any risk of dying from T1 seeds. They're not enemies.
Right. Yeah, I thought of Modern in a way where like I feel like a lot of us made the mistake of, oh, let's just like get some gear. Let's use harvest. I've got these seeds. Wow, these crafts are crazy. Oh, he's level 100. It was like that, where it's just
I
how did this
didn't really
even
follow
happen?
the race. How big was the gap between first and second? Like,
Well-
what was second place at when he got 100?
It's like a full level ahead almost,
Yeah, pretty
which
much.
is insane.
Yeah,
That's like, isn't it? That's like 24 hours.
Yeah, like 20
Ahead.
hours easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nuts, man. It was really crazy. And then like between the second and the third, it was like another half a level. People weren't even. There were two people who were 99 when he, and he was one of them when he was
Yeah.
hitting 100. So it was like
That's
completely
insane.
nuts. But yeah, I played Essence Drain, got my ass kicked. Then I re-rolled a whole bunch. What was it even? I tried Wintertide brand to prove Chad wrong. I got bored. It's a cool skill. It's just that it feels. I thought it's gonna be a great thing to play if I really like brands and I really like Vortex Cold Snap, and it was exactly that. Except I've played those both so much in recent times that I was just like, man. So then I re-rolled like Whispering Eyes Arcanist brand. Got super bored of that too.
Was
And
it
then I rolled
no.
Agnostic Minds Bull Lightning guy. And that was
Oh.
really cool. I was like, wow, I'm having so much fun. The agnostic mechanics cool. Scaling damage through Arcane Cloak, that's awesome. Let's re-roll. So I re-rolled. I re-rolled Totems, also agnostic, Arcane Cloak. And it was really sick for a while, but then I ran into some like SSF gearing problems, and now I have a single target problem. And yeah, Totems they're really good, they're really strong, but they need more gear than I thought. Except if you're playing Freeze Pulse Totems, those things, or like Frostbolt Totems, those things are nuts. But I basically tried to scale my damage through just Arcane Cloak, where Arcane Cloak is literally 3/4 of my damage with Arc, and or not 3/4, it's like 6/3. I guess
that would be what?
Maths, yeah,
that.
yep. Okay.
That means you have 200% more damage, right?
Okay.
Or something.
More than that, even. It's
Like whenever you click it, your damage goes up by like 3.
yeah, it's basically with Dynamo, you can have it on like a very long,
Yeah.
short cooldown, but then you have like a long duration. So pretty much all of my damage is coming from my Arcane Cloak. It's just like the effectiveness from the extra chains from Arc is like where it's getting it from. And that's been cool, but yeah, I'm having severe single target issues because I just have absolutely no gear. Because for the race, I was just like, let's get some CI gear. And now that I'm not playing a CI gear, it's literally a league start. So I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna take it. Might reroll tomorrow. Shit.
I think the arcane cloak stuff's cool though. I've planned a trapper out using basically the same thing. We just because they've buffed the damage effectiveness so high. I haven't seen much like archmage stuff. I haven't played it since the change, so I don't know how good it is. But I like the fact that you can just make like arcane cloak builds, and that's a like viable setup.
It's good. The thing is, archmage was good last league with no what's it called? What's that duel called?
Fevered Minds.
Fevered?
Yeah, you didn't even need it. The crazy part is that if you just 6-link your gem, the archmage gem would be a 100% more damage multiplier without anything else. Just that, like last league. So it's pretty crazy. And it gets close to that, if not the same now with, after the nerf. But then you get the few nodes on the tree, and you're basically back to that.
Archmage is at least the version of Archmage that I played last league, which was the Archmage Cremation. I can't speak to like Archmage Stormbrand or something because I'm not super familiar with it, but like Archmage Cremation is still alive and well, and its top end damage potential has been cut down quite a bit. But the defensive tools available to it now are so good. Like Dynamo on the tree is insane, Agnostic on the tree is insane, Glancing Blows on the tree is insane. You can go Agnostic, Glancing Blows, Divine Flesh, and you can get enough mana regen to just straight run RF. That's what Dan is trying to do right now in hardcore trade. Like he's playing that build and he's getting to the point soon, unless he's done it already. I haven't checked out his character in a couple days, where he can just run RF. Like you get plenty of damage still.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And the thing that I was most concerned about is that we would lose that playstyle of like ping-ponging your mana, where you can use your HP essentially as like a form of attacking. I was really worried about that, but no, it's totally still there with Agnostic. I'd say it's even cooler. Agnostic is a little bit annoying, something that I know I overlooked before like fully getting into it, is that Agnostic drains the full amount of mana no matter what. So if you are degenning for even 1 HP a second, you're losing 20% of your mana at all times. So that's why like balancing it out with RF can be so tricky, because a lot of people would ask about that, like, why don't you just use RF if you're regenning this much? It's because it doesn't drain the like 9-11% or 4% that you need remaining. It drains the full amount at all times. So it's a little bit tricky to balance around, but it's very, very cool. You can definitely, on the Hierophant that I played, you could definitely get it to a point where you're just sustaining even without a mana flask active. It's nice.
Also, one thing quick before we move on, it's worth mentioning that even on like Mine for Mana builds, if you are struggling for a cheap anoint on your build, if you just anoint Dynamo, that solves like any mana issues on any character. I'm playing Corsica at the moment with Steel Skin on left click with anointed Dynamo, and it's just like no regen, who cares? You can just do like whatever, and it's like
nice.
What about you, Ziggy? What have you been up to?
I've also been playing Dynamo. It was the mana solution in my melee build, actually. First character for the league, I wanted to go full into the two-handed rework, so I went multi-exert stacking, Tectonic Cry, Chieftain, like 4 War Cries, Fist of War, Tafoa with the extra slam and all that sort of stuff. Like lean into the slow procs, exert stacking stuff. I've now since rerolled another character to kind of test the other end of the spectrum, which is where you like just lean into the attack speed side of things and just have one instant cast Warcry and do that instead. Because I'm in two minds about it. I feel like I need more information to judge the two-hander rework. Like I'm not quite able to judge it yet. My first impressions from that first character were that they did a really good job of making it way better. And certainly stacking up multiple exerts and like one-shotting early map bosses and then like insta-phasing other ones and off-screening, 2 screens worth of mobs with a single tectonic slam and stuff like that with your exerts all stacked up is like super satisfying. So very big, chunky playstyle for sure. But it still feels like you kind of run into this spot where it's like, okay, now I need to get attack speed to get more damage. And then it's like, yeah, my Fist of War gets worse and worse, and my exerts are getting worse and worse the more I scale this. And yeah, I ran into a point where about like kind of was doing like tier 12-ish to 14 maps, getting to that like Awakening 4 kind of conquerors and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, this is starting to get a little frustrating on bosses now, where I use all my exerts, spend 10 minutes casting 4 exerts, and waiting for the fist of water to come up and all that sort of stuff, and doing a big slam. And it's like, yeah, chunk of HP, and then it's like, yeah. Now I'm kind of like sitting here slapping them with wet noodle, or we wait for fist of water to come back up, and I don't know. It's I felt like I hit a bit of a ceiling. To be fair, that was first character of the league, so not very well geared. Right, I was still on a 5-link and all that sort of stuff, so there's still room to go, and probably with better gear it would end up being fine just through brute force. But definitely feel like you hit a bit of a ceiling there when you're kind of limited on attack speed scaling. So I don't know. I'm not fully able to judge until I play this new character, which actually is a glacial hammer.
What ascendancy are you going with the Glacial Hammer character?
Berserker.
Yeah.
See, that was I was going to ask
That's where it
you,
is.
because you least started it with the slam stuff as well, but you went Zerker. So did you have the same issues or not at all?
No, I did not have those issues. I had plenty of damage. One of my first experiences meeting like my first Guardian was that I hit once for 80% of the Guardian's HP, and I was like, yeah, that's nice. So I was Berserker with Earthquake. So I think what you run into, and I think that's pretty common with those, but if you don't have, because I got lucky and got a 6-link and a good weapon. So that means that I can load up like a big slam, and I don't need to do a second round of like exerting. So I was all in on, if I can just get it done in one round of exerts that I'm like preloading as I'm running towards the boss, we're a-okay every time. Because once you have to do the second round, it really sucks. And then the third round. And like Tectonic Slam has around 200% like effective damage per hit versus Earthquake, which is almost 400. The Earthquake is like double damage per hit, essentially. So it makes a lot more sense to just, really just exerting those 5 hits up. And then you get like the double amount of damage versus like the Infernal build. Also, like resist becomes a problem with that build. If you're, for any reason, you're running a map where there's a resist on it, it gets really wonky. But with physical damage, Intimidating Cry just overwhelms the physical mods anyway, so you don't care. You're like always doing full damage. So I think that's why it worked out so well. The new node is really fun on Berserker. It's crazy good.
The Warcry Ascendancy node, you mean?
Yeah. It's so much damage if you set it up right. It's
surprised.
harder than I thought with having a high amount of Berserk, but you can make it work.
I was surprised they buffed it up even. I mean, people were like skeptical about it and everything, but they buffed it up like 24 hours before the league launch or something like that. I was like,
I think it was probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Having played with it. Yeah, because the problem was that before you would not be able to, on one Warcry, really get above the threshold. So you had to Warcry twice. So now it just loaded up full. So you had this, like, you just Warcry twice and you're good. Versus having this, like, awkward 1, 2, 3 thing, and you're not really sure if you do 2 or 3, or you can't really come down fast enough. It was just, I don't know. I could definitely see it having been a little bit weird with the weaker rage generation stuff. So I'm happy they did it.
Nice. Any practicing with General's Cry? I'll be honest, that's the one that I'm most interested in.
I'm not very.
Did you see the guy who posted his build on Reddit like a couple of days ago? General's Cry build?
I saw that guy.
It wasn't like the best, but considering it was someone's like league star and they went a bit memey with it, it was actually surprisingly good. He was a Pillar of the Cage God Scion, and he was doing Cyclone, Castle, Channeling, Desecrate, like Fortify. So he would just like cyclone through the map creating corpses, because you need to have corpses to the thing, and they had instant General's Cry on a really short cooldown, and he had them doing sweep, and they'd just be like, and they'd like kill everything.
Sounds really cool.
And they had pretty good single target as well. Apparently,
See, that's what I was thinking, that like you could just, because when I was looking at the numbers initially, I was like, man, why? I was expecting that people were just use it as single target instead of like fighting bosses. They're just gonna spawn corpses because it doesn't consume them, right? And you can just spam your war cry and have these dudes like just charging at the boss. And it, from the numbers of it, I mean, it looks pretty impressive.
I kind of wanted to do that, but the problem you run into is that the whole Warcry shell is built around basically getting all the more multipliers of all the different exerts, right? Or you'll do your seismic plus your intimidate, and then you bonk. But with General's Cry, you get it's an exerted attack, so yes, you do get the exert attack damage, but you can't
So basically,
seismic
yeah,
cry
I mean,
them.
this is fairly
You can't
advanced, but what
intimidate
you
cry
want to
them.
do
They
is
don't
if
get
you get the
any of
bishop
that
pair
bonus.
two
So you
bishop, you're
invest all
generally
this,
better than like a bishop
all
and a
these
knight.
points into getting your cooldown.
Although that is a pretty
for the
advanced
General's
concept, but I would
Cry.
say for the most
But
part, I
then
don't
if you're fully
think,
invested in them, you can take
newer
advantage
players
of all
think
the other
case.
things that you would normally take advantage of in that build.
Yeah, I
So you're
don't
missing
know.
out on that whole like extra damage there. It looked okay. It looked pretty clunky, I would say, as a build to play.
Yeah, I don't think it was the best iteration, but I could definitely see like a Herald of Agony build or something. Like you take a build that already wanted to be like that whole melee cyclone thing, or like the Holy Relic Joffrey thing, and then you just like shove a weapon that's got good synergy with that, and like General's Cry in, and suddenly it's like, oh, this made it a lot more consistent. Because his clear was decent, so if you then had that plus the Herald of Agony, which always had kind of iffy clear in my opinion, I think there's definitely like a
7 different days.
We're going to have to use basically the force push at the moment. It's not the law. Oh, thanks very much, man, for the bottle. Cheers, man. Welcome. How you doing? Alright?